they didn't send this to me. I paid full price. I paid with my own money. They don't know I'm making a video about this, and they don't even know who I am, really. So these are the instructions. We're going to follow them step by step. First thing we're going to need is a small screwdriver. You can also use the tip of your knife for what it's going to, or it says a trim removal tool if you happen to have one. I didn't find that it's going to be necessary. Next thing is a 1/4 inch ratchet with extension. My toolkit's so cheap it's a 3/8 inch extension, and I had to adapt it down to a 1/4 inch because I didn't have a 3/8 10 mil socket, which is the next thing on here, is a 10 mil socket. Don't lose it. You'll never find it again. The last thing on tools needed is a 5mm hex key. If you look in this kit, it comes, by the way, this is specifically for a 2018-2023 JL or JT. If you have other kits, you'll have to get a different kit if this isn't your vehicle. There is a hex key in here. I'm guessing that it is a 5mm socket, or a 5mm hex key. If not, I'll get my Jeep toolkit out and go from there. So, the first step is lower the grab handle bolt cover on driver and passenger A-pillar with trim removal tool or screwdriver. So I got my screwdriver. You can't see this side because of the steering wheel. But what we're going to do is here on the front side, and I'll show you on the other side a little bit better so you can see it better from the camera angle. And wedge the screwdriver under there. I wouldn't care too much about necessarily marring up this plastic piece. I would be careful of your actual grab handle. Just work it loose, it pops open. Now let me show you on that side. I did actually find that it does work a little bit better with my knife, just because it's a little bit smaller tipped, a little bit finer tipped. Once again, just kind of wedge it under there, doing your best to not mess things up. And it just pops open like that. Please don't stab yourself, kids. Step number 2, remove lower grab handle bolt on driver and passenger A-pillar with a 10mm socket. So that's where this comes in. You'll need the extension because it is kind of in there pretty deep. It's not in there tight, just enough to hold it. But it is pretty deep. I don't know that you necessarily need a 6-inch extension. That's the one I got. Cheap Harbor Freight tools are very noisy. Not quite. There we go. Looks like that. Now for the other side. I'm going to hold on to these two. I'm going to throw them up there for right now. Barely any torque to break it loose, but it is noisy. So we're just going to do it like this again. There we go. There's the bolt. On to the next step. All right, the next step. Thread short bar threads into bolt holes. So you should have something that looks like this. A machine bar with a slot on the end of it, at least in the case of this one. And it's just going to thread right up in there where we took that out. Now, one of the things I'm going to do a little bit differently than the instructions indicate is I am going to put just a little bit of Loctite 242, the blue stuff on it, Apparently drip it all over the interior of my Jeep too. Maybe I should have done this outside. Good thing it's a work truck, I guess. Ish. Don't tell my wife I said that. A little bit of blue thread locker. Right up in there. And thread it in till it's snug. Now, one of the reasons I'm doing this is, for one thing, I don't want it to come out unless I want it to come out. But for another thing, the reason for that slot on the end is in step 5, or step 4, you're supposed to insert the end of, or the 1/4 inch ratchet into it and tighten it. Actually, I might know what that means. Figured it out. So my dummy was thinking it was talking about the end of the ratchet, and you stick the end of the ratchet in there and use the, like the butt end, stick it in there and thread it to tighten it. But you'll just take the tip and you'll notice that it fits in there, and you can just use the ratchet, if we make sure it's going the right direction, just to tighten it. And I don't think it has to be super tight, just enough to snug it up. Especially because we have blue Loctite on it. So let's show you that on the other side. So we've got our tool, or a post. I'm going to put blue Loctite outside this time. We're going to thread it into the hole. It's kind of blind. Thread it in. And once again, there's this slot on the back. So we're going to take our ratchet, stick it in there, and just kind of tighten it. Once again, we don't want to break things. I just want it to not come back out. All right, next step. All right, step 5, assemble screws onto the end clamps as shown. So there are these 1, 2, 3, 6-sided, almost pentagon looking things in a bag here. There should be 4 of them with 2 bolts. So get those out. You'll notice they have grooves cut out for the inside of the bar. You'll also notice that 2 of them have big holes. 2 of them have little threaded holes. So you're going to take 2 of them and make sure we line it up correctly. We're going to stick screw through the big hole into the little hole. And it says just to start it. Now, I think what I will also do, I'll show you this up close. You should end up with a, come on, focus. Oh. There we go. You should end up with a, oh, focus on this, please. Should end up with a something that looks about like that. So the next step, once those are prepped, is number 6, placed end clamps onto the ends of the main bar and slightly tighten with the 5mm hex key so they do not fall off. Once again, at least in my case, the 5mm hex key was provided. We just built up the things. All right, this is your main bar. It's the big long one. It's the one you're actually going to mount stuff to. Once again, I got orange. There's a lot of orange accents on the dash, like on the speedometer and stuff. But there's nothing that goes all the way over, so I figured by using the orange bar, it takes the orange all the way through the dash. So we're going to take, and I personally am going to try and get it so that the bolt heads are up rather than down, so that even if it does come loose, it doesn't completely just fall apart. Just a little bit falls apart. We're going to do the same thing to both sides. We're going to make sure that everything's level when we put it on, obviously. But for right now, we're just making sure that they're together. All right, you should look something like that. You can make the choice whether you go bolts up or bolts down, but the point is we've got a clamp on this end and a clamp on this end. So the step after that, step 6, my apologies, step 7, I keep losing track. From the passenger side guide assembly into the vehicle and rest the bar on the steering column. So we've got this. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to thread it through. I'm going to rest this end there. And just for right now, I'm going to rest the other end on my grab bar. Okay, so step 8, the next part it says, we're going to insert passenger end clamp onto short bar and tighten moderately. So, end clamp, short bar. That's the short bar is the piece that went in. So we're going to insert this onto there, and it says tighten moderately. So we're going to tighten it moderately. Then it says to repeat on the driver's side. So once again, clamp, short bar, slide it on. Make sure everything falls apart because you didn't tighten everything moderately enough. So we're going to just kind of guide that back over there. Put this back together here. And we're going to make sure that this one is good and moderately tightened, so that it doesn't fall apart when I go back over and fix that side. All right, last 2 steps. Step 10, go back to passenger side and make sure end clamp is completely inserted. Then tighten end clamp assembly until secure. So we're gonna make sure that that is pushed all the way up on there. And we are going to make sure we crank this down the rest of the way. I would like to mention just how well machined all of this is. Before I move on back onto the other side, I'll show you this. Come on, focus. Focus, please. All right. So you should notice, at least in my case, that it goes all the way up to where that machining meets the clamp. That's how you'll know it is fully inserted. All you do after that is the same thing on the other side. So once again, we're going to push it all the way up until that machining's there. And just crank that bad boy down. Once again, I'm not trying to break these. I just want it snug, especially because once again, I put blue Loctite on it. So theoretically, it should all be good. But man, look at that orange. So there is kind of one last step for the installation, but the bar itself is installed. So next thing we're going to do after this is just stabilize the bar and install our accessories on it. Step 12, install center support as shown. So this is our center support. There's the bolt on the top. There's the round part that's going to clamp onto the ball. And then there's a little dash pad right there, a little piece of rubber designed to keep your dash safe. So we're going to loosen this up. Actually, once again, in my case, I'm going to take the bolt all the way out so I can apply my Loctite 242. outside of the vehicle. I learned my lesson. I haven't spilled it since, but the second I bring it back inside, I will spill it inside again. So the Loctite's applied. We're going to slide everything back together, but we're not going to tighten it up as tight as it was when I pulled it apart. When I pulled it out of the bag, everything was already tight. So this, you turn it to a 90 degrees, clamps like that, rotate it 90 degrees, and then it goes like that. Then all you do is make sure that you're putting pressure on the back here so it makes contact with the dash. You're not trying to bend the bar, you're just trying to support it. So you push it until it touches the dash. And tighten that all the way down. Now what that does is that provides a center support, so that when you have stuff up here and you're running down the road, there's less torque directly on the center that will cause your bar to flex and vibrate as much. Guten tight. All right. Now the bar itself is physically installed. So Anvil Overland does make a lot of different accessories. The main accessory I purchased from them for now is their portable radio mount. But everything mounts to these bars using these. I'm looking for the stupid thing, and it's right here in my shirt pocket where I put it. Need your Allen key. So these are your ball mounts. You see these round parts, clamp onto the ball, and this circular part that installs the same way we just did our center mount. So what I'm going to do, start the bolt, and I'm actually going to put my radio mount here on this side so that it's easier to access when I am getting in and out of the Jeep. I don't have it with me, so unfortunately I can't show you that. I need to get in the better habit of carrying it with me. But same deal. I'm going to make sure that once again the bolt is up. You'll also notice that the anvil is going to be up too, just for aesthetic purposes. 90 degrees. Oh, maybe this one requires to be a little bit more loose than I have it. Maybe it requires to be all the way loose. Similar deal. We're just going to start this because we don't want to clamp this all the way down until we have the ball in it. So the portable radio mount is designed to work just with your belt clip. My handheld, my Kenwood D75 has a belt clip on it. Most of my FRS and GMRS radios have a belt clip on it. Man, this stuff's incredibly machined too. Love this. There are threads in 3 different places here, so you can orient it however you need. We've got the ball, and we've got the bolt. And then you just install it wherever you see best. I think I am going to go to the top one, just because some of my radios are kind of large. And then throw my bolt on the ground. So we're going to put our bolt through the ball. No, I actually did lose the Allen key. Through the ball, into the top hole, thread it down. You could probably blue Loctite this one if you want. I don't want to do that, at least not yet, just in case I want things to be moved. So this plate, it's got kind of a U shape to it. That's where your belt clip goes. It's nice and grooved so that the belt clip latches onto it nicely. we're just going to tentatively loosen this back up just until that ball socket pops back in. And I should have brought my radio for this, but I want it to be tentatively kind of right there. I think that'll be the best chance of keeping it out of the way of the vents, out of the way of my turn indicator, and out of my field of view as best as possible. I'm going to make sure that it looks level with the bar, because that will bother me. And then once that's done, once you got it where you want to crank it down. Now this is one of the things that I like about some of the other mounting systems better than I like about this one, is adjustment on other systems, particularly the ball and socket with the arms, ram point, tack form, ram, tack form, bullet point, all of those that use that kind of ball and socket, they've got thumb screws on it, and if you want to adjust it, you just pop it loose and you do it. This, you have to have the actual tool. Now, I feel like this is going to be significantly more secure than those. In my experience, those still kind of tend to be shaky unless you lower the bars all the way down until they're touching the dash anyways. But that's neither here nor there question. Now we're back on this camera angle, when one of the things I like about this system is, even though it does have its own foam mounts, I don't have one of their foam mounts. They look, once again, incredibly well machined, incredibly well built. And I will probably eventually have their tablet mount, at least, because that looks great and like it would actually support the weight of an iPad Pro and keep it from falling apart. But these come in a lot of different shapes and sizes. This is the same ball mount as the one over here. Same thing, but you can get it for different ball sizes. Now what that means is I can take things like this, which is the reason that I don't have the anvil overland mount. As long as the ball mount's the same size, you can still use it. So I'm going to take my quad lock wireless charging mount that I have, and I use the quad lock stuff mostly just because it's what's already on my motorcycle. And as you can see, as long as you have done your research and you make sure that the ball sizes are correct, that's not how I want that to sit. As long as you've done that, as long as you make sure that the ball sizes are correct for the size of the mount you were buying, even your quad lock will just bolt right up there. Now I'm going to put my phone on this. You see it twists on there, just like that. It's great, and it wireless charges. I've got wires to route and things like that. But the reason I have the phone on there right now is because I need to loosen this up now that I've cranked it down and can't see anything because the phone's on it. And I need to actually get this positioned. And I want this to be about as low as I can get it, because that's one of my other big problems with the other systems, is these Jeep dashboards and the windows are so small. And this allows me to mount things down lower so that it's not in my windscreen as much, so it's not really ruining my visibility. So if I put my phone there, I can still see the entire phone screen. I can still see my entire dashboard, or dash screen. I can still see all of my controls. Well, I'm gonna have to finagle this. And I don't know if you can see that from where you guys are right now, but currently that puts my phone even lower than the top, visually and physically, than this cheap whatever that is. So I'm gaining stability. It's much more solid. I get wireless charging. quick connect and disconnect. It looks better. And I think that's probably my favorite thing. This is such a clean system, clean setup. It looks so good, guys. I don't know if I can explain that well enough. This looks incredible. Just the fit, the finish, the quality, everything about it, I love.